Welcome back to another episode of Mr. Therapist and the Counselor Podcast. And we are here to help. I don't know what we're doing here, Jesse, but we are a mental health podcast. We're a recovery podcast.
We're back, baby. We're back.
We are back. I feel like this feels like season 2 of Mr. Therapist and the Counselor Podcast because we took a little bit of a break because the counselor decided to have a baby. And
no, you decided to have a baby.
And so did I.
Baby was more recent than my baby.
My baby was more recent. Yeah. My baby was like when we stopped, right?
It was the catalyst. We shut this shit down. So
we'll blame him when he grows up.
That's right.
Breaking the podcast.
He will carry that burden for the rest of his life. So
yes, sir. How you been, brother?
I'm as I was mentioning, I'm just trying to gather my belongings here, get my wits together. So I miss doing this. So I miss seeing you. I miss being in the studio / office. I miss the AKA Fern, AKA what was it?
Tree.
Yeah, the tree.
The tree.
I miss Dave Bautista. He's somewhere over here on the right hand side.
We got to figure out how to incorporate him here for you.
Maybe I'll just glue them to my chest or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go full Dave and just walk around in my blue chonies. And
he could be a skit, kind of like the Muppets or Sesame Street, where we just have a little skit of Dave Bautista.
I randomly thought about like having his head like rise up, but I thought that would be too like awkward, and people might think it looks like my penis or something like that. So I don't know.
Be careful with that for sure.
Yeah, I don't think everybody would actually think that. How you been? How are you checking in today? That's what we used to say, right? How you checking in?
Yeah, man. I've been checking. How am I checking? I'm tired. I'm not gonna lie. I've actually been working on this because when people ask me how you're doing, I'm always like good. Sometimes I'm great, and I'm like, just kind of like want to filter anything that I'm going through the lens of good and great. Not because I wouldn't say because I'm trying to hide how I'm feeling, but more so like I just want to provide, like it comes from a place of like I want to give energy of greatness, of good, like when I talk to people. So, but most recently after having this baby, I've been super tired, and so I've been like challenging myself to just be honest, like with like how you actually are feeling when people ask me that, and they might not really want to know, but they've asked, so I'm gonna give it to them, and I'm like, I'm tired. And so that's how I've been feeling, man. I've been feeling tired. It's been a little bit not like me and my wife have been splitting time with the baby. Recently, she's been really taking care of the night feedings and stuff like that. But baby's 2 months old right now. But I'm trying to stay consistent with my personal things, like the things I do for myself, like gym and stuff like that. And so that requires me to sacrifice time at the end of the day or the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
So it goes into my sleep a little bit. So I've been feeling the effects of that, man. Being tired. I've been trying to balance the practice and the family, and just sort of struggle busting that a little bit,
Yeah. I wanted to speak on the whole thing. I like when people ask you how you're doing.
Yeah.
And in the common response is usually fine or good, just to get people off your back. I've actually practiced this often. It's not always the best. And sometimes it comes out almost awkwardly, but people will be like, "How are you doing?" I'll go, I might give them. I'm like, "Good," but I was like, "Let me think about that." Actually, though, give me a little time, and I'll get back to you. Obviously, if it's just like kind of in passing, you're gonna say, "Hey, I'm great." Like if you're checking out at Target or something, you're just gonna keep it pretty like simple. But like if people really want to know, I really want to give them something genuine, because I hope in return the genuine is given back to me. So like I really try to be like, give me a minute on that. Let me kind of process what you're asking me right now. And then, I could usually kind of get a sense of like what I'm feeling. Maybe I'm a little anxious right now. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe I'm content, so.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good practice for just thing for people to be genuine and be real. So
I think it creates an opportunity for connection too, right? When someone
yeah,
notice when I say tired, people like it's a gap, it's a pause, it causes a pause in the interaction
right.
because they're expecting a good back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like it
Yeah,
almost throws them off a little bit.
yeah.
I've noticed that. That's why I'm saying it's kind of awkward because people will go like they'll go, "What the shit?" Like, I just can you just tell me good so I could start walking the other way, buddy?
Go.
I'm beelining to go get a Starbucks, man. Just say you're fucking fine so I can go.
Don't inconvenience me while I'm asking you how you're doing.
Like, you want some real shit? I'll tell you what's up.
Yeah, that's how it is, man. What do you think about
Yeah.
the break we've taken, dude? Like, should we explain that a little bit? I mean, I think,
Yeah, we can talk about that for sure. So,
yeah. So, I mean, partly, I mean, I think it was, I would say, like, this was probably taking just some time away from the family, right? When we got
right.
together, because the Mr. Therapist and the counselor like to talk, and we're friends outside the podcast. So it's
Yeah,
like we just like take this time to like connect before we record, then we
right.
plan, then we like record, and usually it takes us like 2 hours to get a camera rolling
Yeah,
to hit the script, but so it was taking a little bit of toll on my end of the family. I don't know about
yeah.
how that was with you, Jesse, but
I barely talk to my kids. You already know that, though. So,
so that's a big reason why we took a step
yeah,
back. And I was having a baby, and I was like, you know what, like we're gonna have to pause these recordings that we had planned for a little bit. Um, and for me, I feel like once we stopped, like it was hard to find that time again, like to
oh yeah,
get it
yeah.
going. Like it almost got filled up, and I was like, man, how were we doing this before?
No, I really thought about that because I was like, not that I didn't want to get back to it, but like we had such a momentum, so it
Yeah,
was kind of we were going, going, going. I think, and people in our inner circle that supported, they kind of knew like our formula. So yeah, when we stopped, I was kind of like, oh, all right, and it's just been hard to like get back in the saddle and just get the flow going. So and we're even doing this now in a different form. And initially when you told me, I was kind of like, I can't do this. In my mind, I was like, I can't do this because like I feel like I want to see you. I'm like, you're not rubbing my leg awkwardly anymore. I'm just kind of like we just busted out short shorts, dude. Like the shortest shorts I think anybody's ever seen on like the internet. And now, like, they can't see our legs. I mean, we have no pants on right now, but so we actually did go shorter. But like,
I'm
but
really happy that you've disclosed that. I'm not the only one sitting here pantsless.
yeah. So it was just like it's been, when you had your third kid, I was kind of like, man, I don't know how he's gonna have any time for anything. But yeah, we see his purpose with what we're doing, so we're gonna keep it going, and yeah, we're gonna make it happen. Got me.
Absolutely. And we committed to 100 shows, dude. Like we
That's
can't
right.
fall back on that
Then our
commitment.
then our contract in
Yeah.
blood. So
But if that takes like a show a year, you know what I mean? Like we'll have to find a way to drag it out here.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so yeah, that's kind of what we took our break for. You want to talk a little bit about like us sort of redefining this a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of. I think that you would probably be actually better. We could talk about that. You want to
Yeah.
just take the lead on it, though? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're thinking about, also, we are a mental health and recovery podcast, and so one of the things that we wanted to do is to um, bring in the perspective of our viewers and listeners, and I think one of the niche areas that the counselor and myself really have a lot of guidance and knowledge around and experience around is working with people who have been in a mental health or addiction, substance use addiction, um, treatment program. So usually those programs, they're 30 days residential or 30 days outpatient, and then people leave the program. And they usually it's they leave and they're unsupported, and they're just the relapse prevention, whether it's mental health relapse or substance use relapse, is super high. So
Yes.
so we started to talk about sort of gearing and shaping this discussion to be, to help those individuals who have left a residential treatment program, whether it's substance use or mental health, because there's a lot of gaps to fill to be able to help and support them. And so we
Yeah.
want to be able to be able to bridge that a little bit, one episode at a time here. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that we see often is when people when they head out of like a program that keeps them so accountable, like it's not real. It's kind of a bubble mentality. So like people step out the doors, you see unfortunately a lot of people fall, they kind of trip and they just don't know where to go. So I think the hope with this, what we're doing here is I think something I wrote down was like the healing continues and that we just have to like we have your back in this journey is what we're looking at. Like I've always heard this idea like walking side by side with people. I can't actually be in their shoes, but I can walk side by side with you, and that's I think that's kind of what our hope with this podcast it is that is it's there as a reference as a resource to kind of to guide you through the rest of your fucking life so you can live it the way that you should have been living it for a long time but
So
yeah, mental health and addiction it ties us down and we find a way to find a when you finally find a way to break free and get to the next step it's still pretty scary
yeah.
so the
And
more
I
people
gotta say this: if
the
you've been
better.
listening to the show and you haven't, you don't relate with being in a mental health or a substance use treatment center and having to go through the 30-day recovery program there, this next part I'm about to say is for you. Um, I don't know about you, Jesse, but I remember when I was facilitating groups for treatment, um, and the groups would like, there'd be times where you'd have great groups and times where wasn't so great, right? But like those great groups, oftentimes we found ourselves concluding the group reflecting on like shit like this is not stuff that is only for addicts or for
No,
people
yeah,
dealing, or for people who are like severely depressed. Like this is life stuff. Like
yes.
this is shit that like, I wish I would have learned in school, or I wish I would have talked about it. Somebody would have talked to me about this at some point or been a part of a discussion around this stuff because it would help me just generally with life. And so, I really think that the topics, although that we're thinking about that person who's leaving the treatment center in mind, that these concepts are fucking life concepts, right?
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, like they're going to resonate if you are a human being going through life.
yeah. No, to your point, I still actually I still work in a program treatment center and I still stay that. Like I wish everybody could do this. Not everybody wants to come here, but I wish everybody could do this in some fashion as you take a step outside of what's going on, how you're functioning, and a lot of times people aren't functioning at a like at a high level because they're using or they're struggling with other things, but like to take a step back in life and to address the things that you want to change or where you need help like I would suggest anybody like go to some type of form of treatment in the sense just to treat yourself to improve to get better. So yeah, this is at the end of the day, it's all self help. It's knowledge, gain some wisdom, and just become a better human being. So yeah, you can if you can look past yeah, it's more than just the substance you put in your body. Like the substance is just you're countering like something painful in your life by using something to distract you, so like yeah, I totally agree with what you had to say. So
So stay on with us, stay on with us, keep following us along in this journey. We're thankful for everyone who supported us since we've been doing this, and we hope you can continue
yeah,
this. What
yeah.
do we got for today's topic, Jess?
So rolling out January just ended. I don't know if you're still dry. Are you feeling a little damp right now?
You know
But
what? You know what? I'm not.
you're
I'm
fucking
not
soaking
saying.
wet right now. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm a little buzzed right now. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, we had talked about dry January. That was such. I was actually I mentioned it to the clients that I'm working with recently. Just yesterday. Like I was like, man, I was like, dry January just became this huge thing. I think there's dry January, and then there's like sober October, and we had talked. We was like, well, yeah, earlier in the month we had talked about like we should really address this whole thing because what you're going to see now is that dry January's over. There's a lot of fallout. I think people they'll try January, and I think there might be some aha moments. Maybe there's not, but like people do it for different reasons. So we thought we should talk about what dry January is, the movement with that, how it's become kind of a trendy thing, and yeah, just kind of encompassing a conversation because we work in the field, and some people might go through a dry January and realize, oh shit, that was one of the harder things I've ever done, and maybe something going into a treatment program might be the next big step for them. So
Right, right. Yeah. No, I love the topic. I know a lot of people that actually either talked about it or participated in it. So yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
What do you
Um,
got? Do you have do you have what dry January is? That's why I've been putzing around with my phone a little bit here. Do you have it
yeah,
in front of you?
I don't have it on me. I can look it up, but just a general description of dry January is a month where, people decide to not drink, right? And so I don't
Yeah.
think it has anything to do with any other substance, but alcohol is the main idea here is to just not drink any alcohol for the month of January. I don't know how it started though, or like
Yeah,
what.
yeah, that's what I got. So Dry January actually started as a challenge. It was a campaign, I guess, actually in the UK.
Mm,
I think it was founded or started by a lady. Her name was Emily Robinson. So the idea was just for her, like she was looking to do like health benefits. She wanted to improve her life in that way. So it started that was kind of like the start off was like I'm going to take a month off of January. I guess want to make it kind of a New Year's resolution, and that became like kind of the start of the movement. I mean, I think it's progressed and made become a much bigger thing. Obviously, not just in the UK, but in the United States as well. So that was the initial start of where that came from. So,
mm.
uh, yeah, that's kind of what I have on that idea of what where Dry January started. So,
That's
uh,
kind of cool. Was she like a life coach, or was like I wonder if she started it with like a group that she was coaching, or if it was just something she did? Because that's kind of sick. If you have an idea like that, and then it just kind of spreads, like that's amazing.
yeah, I mean, it's been around. It's been around for years too. I mean, it looks like it came out like in 2012, 2011. So like, I mean, and like I mean, I've heard about it in the last maybe 4 or 5 years, maybe less. Um, but yeah, it was just it was about also just alcohol concern was because the idea of like not I think drinking obviously it does a lot of things like, as we mentioned health wise like so yeah I think and then also people just use it as a crutch to for their problems so yeah
Yeah,
she fired that up and it's kind of a big deal now so
yeah. As a as a drug and alcohol counselor, Jesse, when you hear someone going into dry January, are you usually like proud of them for doing that, or do you have any concerns around that at all? Like what?
I'll be straight up. Anytime I hear somebody say they have to go dry January, I already I feel like if alcohol isn't a big part of your life, you don't need to take these stances of like, I need to take a week off or a month off. For me, the reason I know, at least this is how I feel, is that like, I know a lot of times, like throughout when using drugs and alcohol, there would be this like, okay, you know what? I need to take a week off. This has been too much for me. Like, this is not a good part of my life. I see the negative consequences. So, I mean, I guess I have that frame, that view of it, perception wise. So for me, it's like when I hear somebody's like, "Yeah, I'm going to do dry January," I'm just kind of like, in my mind, initially, what Rich is like, is it really that hard to stop drinking alcohol? Like, because to me, that's already like a cause of concern because alcohol, like I said, I kind of started to mention it, it fills some type of hole. And so maybe you're just not good socially. Maybe you're there's social anxiety and you can't talk to people without having a drink. So I think it for me, it's like this goes back to the idea of like treatment could be for anybody. It's helping people. Therapy. I think everybody should go see a therapist. I've made this like stance. Like I don't think you get to really be your best self unless you go to therapy. So yeah, to answer your question, as I long winded it there, like I think initially I'm like, cool, that's great, right? But I'm like, what's the real fucking problem? Like there's something, right? Like, because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like most people don't have that need to stop.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think, and that's just probably just a natural part of our training in the mental health profession
right.
is to
Yeah.
ask those deeper sort of questions, right? Like kind of
Yeah.
like go beyond that surface. I think you've
Mhm.
talked about that before. Um, but yeah, I think like, when I talk to people about drinking or reducing their drinking, or even people who take uh, the challenge of dry January or sober October, um, there's a category of people who don't think they have a problem drinking, but they have this reaction that's very protective around their drinking, that where they're almost like they want to protect it, where like if you challenge them on like, well, maybe
Hmm.
you should reduce drinking, maybe that'll help with some of the depressed foods you're feeling, or that might help you sleep better, or
Right.
or even that might help with the weight loss goals you have. Like there's this protection, like, well, I can't give that up, or like this sort of like feeling of they don't want to give it up. And it's interesting because if you think about an addiction, these people probably think an addiction is like, I need it. If I don't have it, I'll die, or I need to drink it every day. But addiction isn't black or white like that. And so there is this like mental dependence that we can build around alcohol, for things like you said, even if it's just social, for social like interactions, or for going, it's a social lubricant.
You got to remember too, the stigma's still very strong. So, because like if you were to like, if you ask, I don't know, I'm sure if we got a group of people and just said like what an alcoholic or addict would look like, and we would flash pictures up on the screen, like here's a guy who's homeless, here's a guy who looks like in a business suit and tie, like you could probably there's still a real good chance they're gonna see this one as like this is probably that guy probably uses heroin, or this guy's there's no way this guy has a drug problem. Like, so I think that you're already kind of committing to this idea like drinking is not a healthy part of me. So they people can be like defensive of like, oh no, 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 I'm just doing it for health reasons. Like I can control my drinking, but I just want to do it because A, B, C, or one, two, three, or whatever. So like I think there's a kind of a fear of like, well, guess what? So drinking is now a problem, right? No, no, not whatsoever. Not like this person or that person. Like, so I think it is kind of being vulnerable too and saying like this is what's going on, and so which is could make people very uncomfortable. So
And like it just is the concept around drinking in society in general. You think about that. Like if you stop drinking, it's gonna make interactions like different, around
oh
friends,
yeah, yeah,
around peers, like
yeah.
especially if you have a group of friends or even a family that like culture, the way they do things revolves around like having a drink, or drinking is just a part of whatever, a holiday or a birthday or going out and connecting. A lot of, I mean, gosh, a lot of people connect through alcohol. So it
Right.
really causes you to challenge those norms if you partake in something like this.
That thought right there, like there's been times in my life where I guess I thought at least at some point in time, like I was thankful for alcohol and drugs because it kind of opened my mind, or it made me it let me start to be the person I wanted to be. And I think I've heard other people say that. But there is this the social lubricant, as I said, it kind of allows you to be yourself, and you can it's you drop your fears. But so yeah, it's really tied into socially and interactions, and to remove that, it's scary. We have to be ourselves,
Yeah.
and
And I
that's
think
that's
part of what I think when I hear you say that is just more power to your statement of like everyone needs to go to therapy. Like even if drinking isn't a problem for you, it's not getting in the way of family, work, and stuff like that. But you kind of need it to be social.
yeah,
Like a big part of me is like, well, why? Like what is it about
right, yeah.
meeting people that makes it really hard for you, and this doesn't have to be something wrong with you. It doesn't have to
Oh,
lead to like you have, this messed up relationship with your mom, like, but
right.
really figuring out like what is the reason though. Like let's like understand this a little bit. I think I really appreciate that process of like learning about yourself in that way.
Yeah, I shared a story with you that I have a peer that I work with. She's a therapist, and she had told me she told me she's like, hey, she's like, I started doing dry January, and I was like, oh, that's cool. And within a week or so, she was like, wow, she's like, I didn't realize like how much alcohol was a part of my life. It was just this like kind of like it was like a kind of an aha moment. Is she an alcoholic? Like I've talked to her throughout her month journey, and no, but it's just she realizes like socially like she uses it for everything. And she said also just working once again kind of our awareness now that we've gained so much. She's like looking at the first step of alcohol's anonymous, like you see being powerless, or or is your life unmanageable. But to the idea of being powerless against a drink, like you have to drink to do this, or you have to drink to interact. It's like you once again you kind of start to see things a little bit more. You take a deeper look. But she was saying like, yeah, she's like she realized like how much it was, or how much of her friends drank, and like how all of her social activities, not all, but a lot of her social activities were tied around drinking. She even told me like she went on a date, and I think the person was like, besides drinking, what do you do? It was kind of like one of those moments of like, wait, what? Like, I'm more than that,
Yeah,
yeah. And she even told me like she was like, yeah, she's like, I did the whole month, and she's like, and right now I'm just not drinking. I mean, like, if I want to have a drink at some point in time, I will, but she's like, I'm starting to find other like healthy things. I'm doing things that I like, so it's
yeah,
not as much a necessity, at least right now, so.
yeah, yeah. No, that's super cool to hear that she's embarking on that and taking a curious approach to it. Uh, what's your take on like if somebody were to like have just graduated from a mental health program, not a substance use program, someone from a
Uh,
substance use program, obviously we want them to maintain sobriety, but someone just graduated from a mental health program because they had the depression or anxiety. Um, would you, yeah, what's your take on that? Like, do you think like it's important for them to stop drinking as well? Like, or like,
well,
is
I mean, I
there
guess
something good for them to partake in?
I think that yes, I think it might be good because a couple things. I mean, one depending on how severe the diagnosis on depression, anxiety, if you're taking like a type of medication, you might want to just stay away from all other substances, right? I think the other thing too is like trying to develop health skill, whatever you're going through. This it
Sorry,
becomes
Jess,
very negative
you kind of broke up there. You said, what was that second point you were making there?
about the I think go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, after you said that, if you're taking medication, alcohol could interact with it, but then you mentioned then you made a different point after that.
Well, just yeah, I mean, I think that anybody should, because I think that drinking is a negative coping skill, pretty much. Like I think that um, you should try to find healthy coping skills with whatever you're dealing with. I think drinking it's not good to do when you're trying to heal through something. If
Yeah,
you're doing like severe trauma work, I'm not gonna be like, okay, you know what, you're killing it, man. Like you just shared some deep rooted like pain and trauma. Like go to the bar and grab yourself a Michelob Ultra. It's like I just think like that. I mean, that would probably make you even more traumatized to have that alcohol, that drink right there, because it's such a shitty beer. But it's just the idea of you want to try to not use another substance to like block like what you're improving on.
yeah,
So
yeah, and I think my take on that too. I agree with you, and it's you gotta as someone who's recovering, like getting used to the like how to process emotions. I think is an important process in healing.
yeah,
And and alcohol, that's one of the things alcohol kind of blocks sometimes or numbs sometimes, and sometimes it even interacts with your mood, like where it makes you feel more depressed,
right.
it makes you feel even more guilty, it makes you feel even more ashamed. So I think that considering that that could sort of stunt, I guess, your healing
Oh
is
yeah.
a factor in that. So yeah. um let's see, I do you have any did you I know we were collecting questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss on
No,
this?
I was kind of gonna throw to you and be like, yeah, let's hit up those questions and see what
Sure.
people, and if anybody else had any experiences on dry January, their takeaway
Yeah.
from.
So I talked to one person who submitted, like I we put it on our socials or whatnot to inquire about this. One of them was talking about how they don't have a drinking problem, but
Mhm.
exactly what you said. They said that one, they've stopped drinking and they were really happy with the benefits of, like, they feel like they're less inflamed, like the inflammation went down.
Yeah,
They just overall feel better health wise. They've lost some weight, which I'm like, okay, that's a positive.
yeah.
Um, and one thing they actually said, like a negative benefit, because I asked, like, is there any mental health benefits? They're like, not really, probably because I don't have a problem. But one of the negative things is I feel like I'm less. I feel less connected to people
Mm.
because I've stopped drinking. And so it's kind of along the lines of what you're talking
Yeah,
about,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, yeah, so it's just an interesting take there, right? And
yeah. It's
it's
funny
great.
how alcohol's become people's best friend in a lot of ways, you know. So it's like it's kind of scary. I mean, it's scary in the sense it's like yeah, just I think you're seeing just yeah, just more awareness on it. That yeah, I don't know. It's when I say scary, it's just maybe there's more people with problems out there more than we think than we realize, you know. So
Right, right. Let me bring up a question as well here. So it says, I found significant benefits during dry January. How can I assess whether to continue abstaining from alcohol or to reintroduce it responsibly? It's a good question.
yeah, do you want to take it first? You want me to roll with it? What do you want?
Um, Hit it. What you got?
I would just you're good without it. you know, you know what I think we've really convinced ourselves that like alcohol is this healer. Like it's we've really become dependent on the idea of substances like making us feel better. And it's a lie. It's not true. I think that as I said, like being that kid that growing up and like well, the first time I had a drink, like it helped me get out of like my uncomfortableness. But then after that, I was stuck on that narrative that like drinking's always going to save me, or it's going to make me more funny or more appealing, or be the things that I've always wanted to be, and that's bullshit. Because I just I think that if your operating system has improved and you realize like you know, I'm actually better without it. Like, why would we pick up something that's like drinking is not a healthy thing. It doesn't do good things to our body. Like, it doesn't. There's not a lot of benefits to it except for I think the social aspect. And don't give me this whole fucking thing of like having one red, glass of wine, some red wine every night will do whatever. Like, I'm sure there's some minor health benefits, but guess what? If you don't have one, if you're having one glass of wine, red wine, a night, I think that you're already an alcoholic. So it's just like I think people try to talk themselves into believing that sometimes like certain substances are beneficial. When come on, let's be straight up here. Drinking it don't do nothing except for like get us a little wild and crazy, you know? So
Yeah, yeah.
any thoughts on what that question?
I just got a flashback of you in the '80s, getting wild and crazy. But
Whoa, fuck off.
um,
I was prime 90s, dude, all right? Even in the 2000s, okay? That was my drug addict peak, okay?
yeah, I'm
Even
sorry.
if I was in the 80s, though, I'll tell you what, man, them Quaaludes, oh my gosh. Anyways, but
Yeah, I think my answer to that might be a little different than yours, which is good.
go fuck yourself,
I love
Manny.
that there's a difference here, right? And not too different though. I think a part of me, I would say, how do you like? What should you do? Abstain or reintroduce alcohol? I don't even like the fact that we're focusing on alcohol like this. Like, I almost feel like it goes to a deeper question of like, how the hell do you want to live your life? Like,
Yeah,
what makes you happy? How do you want to feel? Like, how do you envision like a good life being for yourself? And like taking steps back from there, does alcohol fit with that vision or not? You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think, for some of us, like we want to look good, we want to feel good, we want to um, be confident. Like, does alcohol make you feel confident? Maybe in the moment. How
yeah,
about like afterwards? Like if you're getting shit drunk, like I'm usually feeling guilty. I'm feeling like ashamed. I'm feeling
yeah,
embarrassed. Like so really thinking about like how do you want to ultimately live your life, and how does alcohol have an impact on that bigger vision for yourself? I think, and I think personally for me, I don't abstain from drinking, but I don't do it all the time. Like
yeah,
I don't have the desire to drink sometimes, and I listen to that gut, and I even feel sometimes like I'll feel the pressure of like, man, everybody's drinking, or sometimes I have a group of friends that'll be like, come on, like, why aren't you drinking with us? Or like this
yeah,
this sort of pressure, but it feels good to sit through that pressure and be like, I'm good. Like I don't want to drink. and to walk away and to maybe like you were able to get an early workout in the morning, or you were able to hang out with your kids because you weren't hungover the next day, and so those things make me feel happy. And so no, like having that vision of like what I like to do helps me reinforce like my decisions in the moment, like if drinking or not drinking.
Yeah. I think it's just that camaraderie that alcohol has created. It's just it really is so surface though. I think that it's just like we're desperate to like try to be like to interact with people and be genuine, and it's sad that like alcohol has to be like that buffer now. Like we can't just grow into like just natural conversations or just it's like I said, I get it as a teenager and a kid, like you're having a couple drinks to kind of maybe escape because you don't know how to talk to people yet, or that's it. You don't know how to talk to people. You don't know how to do anything because you're a kid. But now as like grown adults, a lot of times I'm just kind of like, it's yeah, it's concerning that drinking is still just so present, and
Well,
it is like
a lot of people still don't know how to talk to people, Jess.
yeah,
Like,
I know.
like even as adults, right? Like, sometimes like we never emotionally like learn how to do that. And
Yeah,
we've talked about this in even some of our guest podcasts, how lonely we are, right, as a
right.
society.
Yeah.
So that contributes into that as well. But
Yeah.
your point is taken of like how long do you want to depend on this to be able to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's time to there's got to be a different way, but so
One thing that's important for me to say before we wrap is I think there's like I think this could dry January, like abstaining from alcohol. There's a time where that isn't a good thing, right? And I think one time would be like if you are currently so dependent on alcohol that like stopping is dangerous, you
right, you
know?
might have a full blown seizure. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
laugh, but like you medically, you've got to, you want to. I'm just gonna stop doing everything. You got to watch out for that for sure. Yeah,
Yeah. So that's one way. And then the other one I think is like if you're just thinking about it so short term, like I'm gonna stop drinking in January, I feel like there could be this like slingshot effect of like you
yeah,
stop a month, you get through that month and then you just freaking hit it, right? Like for
right.
the rest of
I'm gonna
the
make up for the whole month of January and
yeah,
February. Yeah, no, that should not be the intention. It should be, yeah, that's the whole rebound effect, like you said, or slingshot. Like the idea of it's like I'm not doing it. You're white knuckling basically the entire dry January. Then it's like, all right, time to double up. So
right. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty dangerous right there. So if you do
So
that, you'll probably most definitely ending up in some kind of treatment program or something like that, or maybe
yeah.
even worse. So, but yeah,
Cool, man. We brought up some good points. I think if any of this resonated with you, the insecurity, the needing to need the social lubricant, the even having a hard time stopping or continuing to stop, this is our call to you to like go talk to someone, right? Like go find a therapist, go find a counselor, go figure out like how to talk about some of this stuff and grow through some of this.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do we wrap this up? I forget.
How we wrap this up, we go, thank you
Oh,
everybody for you got a line in this, so you got to remember your
I
line.
know. I just remembered it.
Everybody for checking out the pod. If you have questions on this, or you want any support on this, reach out to us, Manny at MrTherapistMFT.com. We can answer your questions, and please subscribe to the channel. Share the show if you found some value. Jesse O.
And always check in on your friends.
Forgot my name, tag it home today. I'm Jack. Greet you like I give a fuck. Are you surprised by that?